we were talking, and I was like, I put $1 million on Floyd. And he got so mad at me. He's like, that's so irresponsible. You don't have that kind of money. He's like, I'm worth, billions, and I don't put that kind of money on. What are you doing? He's like a father figure looking out for me. He meant good. He meant well, obviously. He's just like, what do you do? What if he loses? What if it's fixed and you can't handle that hit? I'm like, it's not going to happen. He's like, well, now, he's like, I was going to the fight and I was taking so-and-so, but your ass is coming with me.
I know you're a fight fan. Best boxing or UFC event that you've seen while you've been here?
So I got to say, this is an easy one only because of everything about it. The Floyd Mayweather Conor McGregor boxing match.
Yeah.
I was friends with Floyd when I moved here.
Yeah.
Before, he was in 2005, 4. He was up and coming. I wasn't up and coming. He was still dominating, but he wasn't the force he became.
He was Pretty Boy Floyd at that point before he was Money Mayweather.
It was the train was rolling, but it hadn't really just started steamrolling. And I met Floyd just being young, black, and successful in Vegas. You kind of get to know others in a similar area, and I met Floyd out and about, and we became kind of friendly. I would say friends, because to the point where we'd be at the club and have tables next to each other. He'd come chop it up with me. We had each other's phone numbers. I don't really stay in contact now, but if he sees me out, he's like, "Oh, what's up, Dave?" And we'll high five and a little bro hug. But so I'd been friends with Floyd, and I know Floyd, and I loved UFC at the time. I don't watch a lot now. I was going, and when that Conor Floyd fight was put together, I'm like, this is a joke, right? Conor is an excellent at UFC, but he is not a boxer.
Yeah.
The cardio that you have to do to box 10 to 12 rounds like Floyd does, the technique, the speed, the defense of Floyd, I was like, this is not a real thing. But when the odds came out and they got down to, because so many people thought Conor had a chance, whether they thought he had a chance or they thought it was fixed, the odds got down to be where Floyd was about 4.5 to 1, right? You could bet Floyd at minus 450.
Yeah.
And I said, this is an opportunity to make generational wealth, really, if you could get down enough. And I remember telling every person I know, take every dollar you have, be irresponsible. I'm being serious. I told my friend Eric Ephra, I'm like, get a second mortgage on your home. I go get every dollar you can raise and go get your ass down to a casino or find someone to take your bet. Put every dollar on Floyd Mayweather you can put, because there is no chance. They're like, what if it's fixed? I go, I know Floyd's ego, Floyd's legacy. Floyd was like 49-0. I go, Floyd is not going to go to 49-1 losing to a UFC fighter. Whether it's an exhibition or not, it is not going to happen. I was like, put every dollar you can put on Floyd Mayweather. And I actually made the largest sports bet by a large amount. I put $1 million on Floyd to win 250, 225 to be precise. And I remember scrounging up every liquid dollar I could get to get that money down. Betting on online Bitcoin sites. I bet everywhere I could bet. I literally, any dollar I could find liquid, I put on Floyd Mayweather. And at that point, before that, my biggest sports bet had been $5,000. And even after, my biggest sports bet since then has been like $20K on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because I've done better in life and I could handle that. So I put $1 million on a boxing match. So I put $1 million on it, and I wanted to go to the fight, but buying tickets to that fight still felt like a spew, right? Like I could bet on that fight because that felt like a free money opportunity, an investment. Spending $10,000 to go watch it. Luckily, I have a good friend who's a defense contractor from Texas, Robert Sanchez. Wealthy guy, plays golf, lives in Austin, dabbles in poker. We were talking, and I was like, I put $1 million on Floyd. And he got so mad at me. He's like, that's so irresponsible. You don't have that kind of money. He's like, I'm worth, billions, and I don't put that kind of money on. What are you doing? He's like a father figure looking out for me. He meant good. He meant well, obviously. He's just like, what do you do? What if he loses? What if it's fixed and you can't handle that hit? I'm like, it's not going to happen. He's like, well, now, he's like, I was going to the fight and I was taking so-and-so, but your ass is coming with me.
Nice.
So he had 2 third-row seats.
Oh, man.
Which that was a hot ticket. Those tickets, third row, 6-figure tickets.
Oh, yeah.
And he took me and him. I remember I wore a suit jacket. I was ready to go. And if you remember that fight, it kind of started off, it looked a little like scary. It looked dicey. It looked dicey if you weren't a Floyd watcher.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember after each first few rounds, he looked over, you okay, you okay? And I was like, I'm fine, man. I'm like, bro, this is how Floyd fights. Dodge, he is wearing him out. I go, Conor is like a jackrabbit right now. But I go, come 5, 6, 7, look at these later rounds, it's over. He's like, no. I'm like, Floyd is fine. Trust me. And I was cool as a cucumber. And sure enough, he wore him down, and all of a sudden Conor looked really bad. Like he was gassed, could barely stand up, and Floyd was just kind of toying with them. And I think Floyd had a bet to win in the ninth, maybe I think it was, and Floyd won in the ninth, and won that bet too. I think Floyd strung him along to the round he bet on, which is kind of funny. And I remember when he won, I was expecting it to feel like winning the lotto, like confetti in my. And I remember when it was over, I'm just kind of standing there. I'm like, that's it. It was very anticlimactic.
Oh,
I just won $250,000, but more than that, I risk $1 million, and it's like a $1.25 million swing. And I remember I had plans to go to the club, and I was single then. I was gonna have a bunch of girls out, and it was gonna be a rager. And I remember afterwards, Robert's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go to Bellagio, Aria High Limit, have a drink. I'm like, I'm gonna go to my room, get out of these clothes. I'll meet you there. We'll get a table. We'll go out. Went back to my room, and I was like sitting there, and I was like, I'm kind of tired. And I just laid down, and I fell asleep, and I went to bed. And I woke up the next day. I had my tickets, a few tickets. Most was online, Bitcoin bookies. The money was in my account. I looked down. I'm like,
yeah, but you woke up $250,000 richer. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, it felt good, but it also, like I said, didn't have that. And that another thing that made me realize, you know what? That kind of gambling, like not poker where you're trying to like compete for the competition, but just gambling, feeling nothing, winning $250,000. When I looked at how unsatisfied I felt winning $250,000 versus how upset I feel losing $5,000, for those to be like opposites in both ways, that man, there's no upside in gambling like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's really not. I mean, I would do it again with the Floyd bet because, again, when you see a quarter on the sidewalk, you got to pick it up.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen an opportunity like that, and don't know if we ever will again.
No, I can't. Like, I can't see it. I loved the UFC back then. I don't watch it nearly as much as I used to. I couldn't see it any different than like if Floyd wanted to get in the cage, you'd bet the house on Conor. Like, I mean, it's two different sports. I just didn't like.
That's what I always said. I was like, it's two guys who it's an amateur against likely the best to ever do it, at least in his weight class. Yeah. Versus an amateur.
Yeah.
Like,
what are we doing here?
Conor McGregor boxed the hell out of me, but I'm not another. But he is not a boxer. He's an amateur boxer against the GOAT. I'm like, what are we talking about here, guys? Like, how is this 4.5 to 1? This should be fucking 100 to 1. Like what is going on?
My next question, funnily enough, is you meet a ton of celebrities, and have you had any like bad encounters? Before I ask you that, I gotta ask you this because Floyd's a bit of an anomaly to me. Is he Money Mayweather when you're just talking to him, or is that mostly persona?
He again, I haven't really. Last I saw him was maybe 5 years ago. We ran each other at the barbershop, and he was quiet. He's fairly quiet, to be honest. Yeah. Like in the club, doesn't really say much, doesn't drink, tips well, just kind of hangs out. Yeah. So I think the Money Mayweather's more of a persona when you kind of get him to open up. Generally, he's just kind of quiet and keeps to himself, very chill.
Yeah. I always wondered that with him. I would always watch him on, was it 24/7, the HBO one, right? And he's so on all the time.
I mean, it's likely different when he's in the gym, when he's training, when he's out. I mean, I would go watch sometimes. He had a little gym over here. I would go watch some sparring before the matches. And he gets pretty hype and talkative, but again, there's cameras and people around. But anytime I've been in a smaller setting, he's just very quiet and chill. Probably just had enough. He's just he's just chilling,
Yeah. Any bad celebrity encounters? Anybody that was rude and or you just didn't like very much?
Funnily enough, it wasn't in Vegas though. I would say it's P. Diddy,
Oh yeah.
P. Diddy, which is funny because it's coming out that he's kind of a piece of garbage anyways.
Yeah.
I had an incident with him in Miami in 2005 where he just was just not very friendly in like a club setting I was amongst other of his equals as a guest. And he kind of just like didn't want to say hi. It was just kind of not like didn't want to say hi, but just kind of rude. Right. So, and I remember telling someone, and they were like, a girl I was dating at the time was on Making the Band. She was like, which was his show back then, and she was like, yeah, he's a piece of shit. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, I'm not surprised. And fast forward, it comes out he's been an abusive piece of shit for many years. So it's like, all right, well, I guess I got that one right.
Got that right, yeah. I met him in LA at a Ciroc event. He was actually quite nice, but I met him for 5-10 seconds, said hello, took a picture, and that was it. And he was pretty cool, but like, yeah, the stuff that's coming out now.